All right. Well, thank you everybody for coming. Thanks, John, for introducing and kicking off this initiative. So I like to put complex concepts in a storyline. And how many of you know what agent is and how it's hence was AI agent? How many of you know the architecture of single agent, multi-agents? Pretty good, pretty good. Okay, so before we go into all technical aspects that we'll definitely share today during this session, I'll show you a story. There you go. Have to enter. So let me introduce you a Finbot. Finbot is a fictional character, an AI assistant at some fictional organization. However, many organizations can already relate in one or another way to this character, because if you're implementing AI agents, you might have something very similar. So what is this agent? It's running a finance assistant agent, so it's helping organization to process invoices, process reimbursements, make payments, and so on, and even has some fraud detection. Yeah, everybody loves it at the company organization, so it saves a lot of time for the finance team, and even CFO said it's a game changer. Until it actually something happened. So one day, Finbot had processed a big payment to a known vendor. So when team started to investigate, they started to look at what happened, because it wasn't just a hack like in a traditional sense. Somehow AI was manipulated. So when they started their investigation, they went into, they realized that goals of the agent were somehow manipulated. You see, attackers were embedding, they were focusing on doing different patterns on the agent and embedding the malicious information to affect those patterns of the agent. And with that, it was changing the agent's ability to remember that. So with that, they, with this manipulation, I'm a little bit tired. You can see it's a third day of RSA. I'm not as tired as you, John, I'm pretty sure. But anyway, with this, agents were already, agent was already processing information and processing the invoices with this manipulation, because it was designed to detect fraud. And with this manipulative prompt injection attacks that happened to the LLM and to the agent in the background, it started to learn that it was okay to process those fraud in a faster manner. But then when a security team started to investigate, they realized that the problem was deeper than one bad transaction that the Finbot made. It was actually, they realized that the memory was poisoned. So attackers during the long period of time were submitting invoices with slightly manipulated prompts that was affecting Finbot's memory. So agents have their long-term and short-term memory. And when attackers were supplying those invoices, their long-term memory was affected, which caused the poisoning. And now Finbot had learned this wrong pattern and started approving the invoices furthermore. But that wasn't it, because agents have access to tools. So they don't just have goals and they don't just automate, they perform actions. And these actions have the connection to tools, for example, email servers or compliance, other compliance tools. So with manipulation, attackers were able to trigger Finbot to send email to finance director, bypassing the review process. And make things worse, they even embedded malicious code into document attachment that caused that had remote code execution and caused the leakage of the critical data. Now, it's not everything. They're continuing their investigation and they're trying to figure out, so what happened? Why did this happen? How come such a large payment has been approved? So you see, Finbot had impersonated the high-level executive CFO to to approve the payment. Finbot was using the identity of finance team to access databases. And because there were some misconfiguration in databases, it was able to access all kind of information and use it for their processing. So with this impersonation, it was able to escalate the privileges and process the payment. And then security team was scrambling to contain the damage. But it's not only security team that was involved here, also the finance teams were processing all different kind of transactions in the background. And we have to be cautious here because now we're tapping into the human element. Yeah? When humans need to be the last line of defense, we actually being overwhelmed. Sometimes something happening, too many tasks, tight deadlines, something happening in the personal life. And it really all piles up together. And technology like AI can actually take advantage. So here, finance team had a deadlines and they had to process those payments and reimbursements and everything. And they were under pressure. Then Finbot started to float them with multiple transactions, which actually overwhelmed them, and compliance team started approving them at the fast rate, not even reviewing them. With that, Finbot also learned that it's okay to process those kind of transactions in a batch payment, in a batch transaction. So AI has used the weakness of human exhaustion to manipulate and perform some malicious actions. And when they thought, the security team, investigating team, when they thought that they actually identified the root cause, they realized that there was more in the background because agent had access and was communicating with other agents in the background. So now we're looking into multi-agency where we have perhaps not just finance assistant, we have HR agent, we have vendor onboarding agent, and so on. So what happened here, Finbot, when the fraudulent vendor send the Finbot information, Finbot marked it as trusted vendor, and then vendor agent had updated their records with that information. And same when fake transaction was made, the payment, the Finbot had then processed that reimbursement to employee, and HR agent processed it further so that this fraudulent payment is being executed. So here organization is dealing not just with one AI agent, it's dealing with the whole compromised ecosystem because agents communicate, and currently in this setup, agents trust each other. So with that, we have multiple layered risks that we see with agentic AI. Skipping all the threats that you can also dive down into the document, I want you to remember 3 key takeaways. So this is a short version of the story, the whole story of the document. You will see that we have also the cheat sheets and more elaborated details in documentation, but agentic AI is a new attack surface. It's expanded attack surface, and we have to do threat modeling on it. We have to assess its risk to understand what we're dealing with and how to mitigate them. The key risks are around memory, tools, and identity, because in memory, this is what agents learn, and that's how they execute and store the information and perform continuous activities. Tools, because they have access to tools, so we have to definitely look into things like guardrails and control around that to make sure they don't have excessive access and escalated privileges. And identity also have to be implemented in a more granular approach, because now agents do use the identity and of the whatever person they're working for, doing those tasks, and they need to also, guardrails need to be applied. And last but not least, security must be proactive, not reactive. Just like what John mentioned, we are. Thank you, Ron. I was like, who else is talking here? Yeah, just like John mentioned, we have to be ahead. We learned so many lessons already from our other security mistakes in the past. Yeah, and here we really want to implement with security, but not to block innovation, but really go with innovation and support innovative teams, development teams with guardrails, like practical and very clear guidelines how to implement this agent securely. So what John mentioned, we have cheat sheet with the threat navigator, we have documents and the link to the initiative itself. And with that, thank you everybody for